cat is here. Okay, well. All right. It's my wife's cat. It's not mine. Just want to put that out there. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Woof.
And I am a Billi Free. And today we have with us Farbeon. Farbeon Salcedo is an El Paso raised, New York City based MC, poet, DJ, producer, and photographer. Farbeon, we want to welcome you to wufreacts.
Hey, thank you so much. It's a blessing to be with you too. Thank you for having me.
This particular song is called Jhol. This happens to be in the Punjabi language. And it's by two artists that I think they're Gen Z. I've kind of seen their names around, Maanu and Annural Khalid. 3, 2, 1, play.
Gook Studio.
Just make sure you have the captions on, which helps.
ਕਿਵੇਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਵਿਖਾਵਾਂ ਦਿਲੋਂ ਰੁੱਸ ਗਈਆਂ ਚਾਵਾਂ ਤੇਰੀ ਯਾਦਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਿਖਰਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਸਜਾਵਾਂ ਸੁਣ ਵੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਜਾਵਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਛੁਪ ਗਈਆਂ ਰਾਵਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਸੀ ਖਾਬਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੱਕਿਆ ਸੀ ਲੈ ਹੁਣ ਦਿਨ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੜਿਆ ਤੇ ਦਿਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਪਾਸ ਤੇ ਤੜਪਦੀ ਰੂਹ ਤੇ ਰਵੀ ਤੂੰ ਕਰੀਬ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਹਲੇ ਨਾ ਤੂੰ ਜਾ ਤੂੰ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਮੇਰਾ ਨਸੀਬ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਨਾ ਜਾਵੀਂ ਦੂਰ ਸਿਲਾ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਤੂੰ ਮੰਗਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਰੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਜਾਨ ਕਦੀ ਵੀ ਨਾ ਡਰੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਦਿਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰੀ ਹਸਰਤ ਤੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਮਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਹੁਣ ਤੇ ਰੋਜ਼ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਹੁਸਨ ਉੱਤੇ ਮਰਦੇ ਹੱਸੀ ਰੋਜ਼ ਕੀ ਕਰੀਏ ਸਜਣਾ ਬੋਲ ਹਾਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਹੀ ਝੋਲ ਤੇ ਨੱਚਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਚ ਕਰੀਏ ਕੀ ਹੁਣ ਬੋਲ ਸਜਣਾ ਕਿਆ ਵਾਂਗੋ
ਪੁੱਛਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਅਹਿਸਾਸ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਨੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਟਾਲਦੇ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੱਸਦੇ ਨੇ ਛੱਡ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਮੈਂ ਉਮੀਦਾਂ ਸਾਰੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ 'ਚ ਫਸਦੇ ਨੇ ਨੀ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲਦੀ ਆ ਝੂਠ ਮੇਰੇ ਤੇ ਤੇਰਾ ਸਰੂਰ ਤੇਰੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਲਿਖਾ ਗਾਣੇ ਸੋਹਣੇ
What's going on here?
ਦਿਲਾਂ ਦੀ ਯਾਰੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਵੀ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਏ ਕਸੂਰ ਨਾਲ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਸੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੇਰਾ ਤੇ
ਮੇਰਾ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਦੱਸ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਆਵੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਲਾਵੇ ਖੁਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਦੂਰ ਜਾਵੇ ਜਾਨ ਸਾਡੀ ਕੱਢ ਜਾਵੇ ਸੱਜਣਾ ਏ ਤੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਵਸਣਾ ਹੀ ਚਾਵੇ ਮੁਸਕਰਾ ਕੇ ਲੈ ਲੈਤੀ ਏ ਸਾਡੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਨੀ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਦੀ ਵੀ ਤੇਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਬਦਗੁਮਾਨੀ ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਯਾਰ ਸੀ ਦਿਲ ਆਸਮਾਨ ਪਾਰ ਸੀ ਦੋ ਦਿਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾ ਸੀ ਕਾਗਜ਼ੀ ਪਰ
ਮੇਰੇ ख्वाहिश ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰੀ ਹਸਰਤ ਤੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਮਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਬਣਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਰੋਜ਼ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਹੁਸਨ ਤੇ ਮਰਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਰੋਜ਼ ਕੀ ਕਰੀਏ ਸਜਣਾ ਬੋਲ ਹਾਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਹੀ ਝੋਲ ਤੇ ਨੱਚਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਚ ਕਰੀਏ ਕੀ ਹੁਣ ਬੋਲ ਸਜਣਾ
प्यार च करिए की हुण मां सजना क्या बात
I mean, I just have to start off by, I've seen a few of the videos of your previous episodes. The audio quality of these songs is always just blows me away. The mixes are phenomenal. They're so large, so warm. Each instrument has a place in the mix, and it invites you in. So I'm always just amazed by the quality of the audio. Not amazed, but appreciate the quality of the audio.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just gonna say one little bit that's related to the mixing. They had this like very lot. They had the music going. It felt like a music video from the engineering, and then at the end, when she got off the train, the music kind of came down, and you heard like her footsteps running. And I thought that was just like another beautiful technique that they used with the audio engineering, because you're just very immersed in this world, right? With this music, and it feels like a movie, and then you just have these footsteps running. Um, that homegirl lost her train though. I hope she can get back to where she's going.
Well,
Definitely some shenanigans.
that train is so important, right? And as a juxtaposition to the performance, and like obviously there's this longing for like forbidden love, or like there's these people who they're not supposed to be with each other, right? And it's trying to figure out, well, who's the one preventing, who's the one who's not supposed to be with each other. And when you think about a train and class on train and who gets to sit where, like,
Ooh,
and then she has to get off the train, and then the train leaves without her. Yeah. Oh man.
That's interesting. I was trying to think of like what this would tie into, because the platform is it's supposed to be about, exploring culture, the rich culture that live within uh, the region. Jhol is like a duet that explores like themes of unfulfilled love. You know,
mhm.
I just realized I think it's like reminiscent of like classic subcontinental love stories,
Yeah.
folk stories. They just kind of put it into like a relatively modern era. Even that is like has like a retro aesthetic, right? It's got a vintage feel to it, even from our perspective.
Absolutely.
It's portraying actually a parallel Pakistan with elements of like old train stations and club culture that used to exist. Thank you, the United States. It doesn't anymore. With it just there was interventions in the 70s, and there's dictatorships as a result, and all that jazz happened. What?
Yeah,
Sorry,
it felt like a crazy like love trapezoid. Like I didn't catch
I
everything,
didn't get
but
it.
like it just felt like there was like a lot happening. There was intrigue, there was mystery, there was betrayal in some form or fashion.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Too much
and again,
everything.
as she got off the train, it was almost like she's like sort of leaving that situation. And then maybe this other guy that left her scarf on the ground also left the situation as well.
Mm.
The cinematography is fabulous. There's no question, you're working with professionals here who know what they're doing. Although the platform switched from showcasing, vocal talent and storytelling, which was the point of this whole thing 2 years ago, to like visual storytelling.
Mm.
Was it in studio recordings, like live
But these are all live
performances?
live takes, supposedly. They're all live takes, like live audio takes, which is why they're using the mics. So they're actually, which is commendable.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. As,
I,
as
yeah.
sorry.
But previously, yeah, it was more like a stage setup. Like,
Yeah.
uh, it was a band on the stage and they were singing, of course, still the live, but now as you said, more visual storytelling happening here.
I'm disappointed or not because I keep harping back to the previous versions of this. Maybe because I'm like kind of disappointed. Even there's no question this is like a beautiful song, right? And the mixer, this guy, is a young guy. He's doing all these songs and he does amazing, crisp jobs of like pulling out what needs to be heard. But like a lot of this stuff sounds sort of washed. It feels like there in previous seasons, the reason I came to obsess with this like platform is because each like random instrument would get like airtime and like a random solo, and you get to understand and hear this music that wasn't heard before, right? At least not on the mainstream.
Mm.
So that hasn't really it's kind of muted. I don't know. What do you think, Billy? Am I just being too of a hard ass about this stuff or what?
I think it depends on the video we're watching. This one for sure, there wasn't so much emphasis on the instrumentalists. I mean, we saw them in the shadows on the stage on the train, whereas other ones, right, where the the main singer is walking in a town in a village set, and they walk past someone with a synth on a synth, and they're very clearly seen. But I think in comparison to some of the other videos we've watched from the older seasons, it is a little bit more subtle. It's more muted this time around. And I think
Certainly.
that is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that it would make the filming easier, right? Like since it's all like apparently a live take, I imagine they're playing the backing tracks. But it would be the decision not to have the instrumentalists up front, right? And I hear what you're saying. It's very pop oriented in terms of popular,
Yeah.
right? And even that theme, the theme of, forbidden love. I mean, love is the common theme. You go across culture. It's the safe theme. It's the popular theme. It's when we work with a lot of young artists who are trying to push boundaries and edges, and they always complain, it's like, unless you're singing about a woman or singing about a woman you want or a woman who doesn't know you exist, then you're not going to get any airtime, and it definitely had that feel.
That's so interesting.
Can we talk more about the visuals here? I have some notes here on the visuals that perhaps can springboard, or you can provide some, both of you, since you are visual artists, provide some more context for me. So I like how they used Annural's whole situation. Like it's live, but we see her singing on the stage. We also see her singing in the hallway of the train with the mic. I thought that was super creative how they did that. Usually when we see these folks, they have the mic the whole time, and if they change scene, like you see them walking towards another space. And this one, it was just sort of cut where she was on stage with the mic singing to a group and then singing by herself with a mic in like the train hallway. So I thought that was super cool. And then at the end where the guy is holding the red scarf, I'm assuming a lot of this, because it's filmed so dark, a lot of this happened at night, but the guy sitting on the bench, I'm assuming outside of the train station, the lighting was just so beautiful. It reminded me of like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and the sun is just like about to peak, or about to come up over the horizon, but there's just this like glow, and in context of all of the lyrics, and such emotion that was happening in the delivery of this song. I thought that was just super beautiful.
Now that you mention it, one thing I noticed, there's a lot of like twinkling lights throughout the video, and it's like a weird cheesy thing that when people in Pakistan used to make movies and nighttime sets were put together. Fireflies are huge in the folklore, or just like in a modern setting too. Like anywhere you go in the nighttime, you'll see them there.
I'm intrigued by, I mean, the lighting. Yes, there's definitely a mood. This video is all about mood, and the underlying emotion of will they or won't they, and who is they? But I'm also intrigued by the, you know, what is it? The technical effects, because to create the train, right, and to create the
Mm,
movement from one scene to the next, it almost is has to be like I mean, I'm not sure. What is it? Is it green screen? Is it you know, and to have things set so that they can go from
Yeah,
the live stage
yeah.
to the narrative train, and then to give the
mhm.
train movement so it actually feels like there's a real train happening. Yeah, it's
You know,
there's
it's infinite money from Coca-Cola,
yeah yeah
and put to good use in this
yeah
case. You know,
yeah.
I think, I really do think so. And these are all sets. These are all sets.
Mm.
Everything is a set. You know, a prop. I think there's some visual effects here too, but these are all sets. These are,
Then I have so much more appreciation and respect for the pre-planning,
yeah.
right? Like,
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not it's like the execute like great execution. We can see the finished product and we're like, "Oh, wow, that's amazing." But to really appreciate it, you have to understand the weeks that go into getting it to the point where then talent is on site and they can run through things and then it's like, "All right, let's make it run."
Each of these has a behind the scenes video, which we don't watch because that's like a movie in its own. It's like a 20-minute thing. And
You
Well, I was just wondering how Coca-Cola decides who to choose.
they don't. They don't. This is like, they just happen to give money to a movement that already existed.
Mm.
The capitalists are trying to capitalize a movement of sorts that have been around. This is the way of, this is how people told stories. I've mentioned it in the last couple of people, and a Billy has heard this many times, but singing is very important to people in that country. Probably in surrounding countries too, but more so in Pakistan. It is what fashion is to New York and Paris. It is what looking good is to LA. If you can't sing, and if you attempt to do that in Pakistan, people will tell you, it's they will look down upon you if you're a terrible singer. So you better know how to sing and be able to tell those stories via singing, because that's the only way they will take you seriously. There's
So
only
this
two
character,
things people care about in that country, is music and food, and that's all they got. And they care they're very protective of that stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, does karaoke exist then?
That's a very good question. It doesn't. Not how we perceive it. Maybe, like, all around the world. What happens is, sometimes when people get together, like families or whatever, they'll hire like a random, like, a person who's not really a musician, but like, oftentimes an unprofessional singer, or someone who aspires to sing, and then they'll sit down and sing to the family for like the whole night. Sometimes the families join in too, like the whole night. This is like a
Wow.
normal thing. Um,
And you
so
have to have skills and a repertoire that
so yeah, so
is deep, right?
yeah, and then there are times when, like, people take turns singing. Like sitting down. It's like everybody's sitting down on the floor and they're kind of just eating and chilling, and families are there. But I remember going to those things. So in a traditional sense, no, but there's the culture of karaoke, kind of like a subculture of karaoke, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
like communal singing,
Yeah.
like
Perhaps.
or like you know how you get singing telegrams, but it's not like 3 minutes, it's like 5 hours of singing telegram.
Well, I think of the mariachi, right? Or
Mm,
like, you hire the, cantador to come through and like they can rock forever
yeah.
if they have the repertoire. But that person has to be good, right? Because they're gonna have to have range.
So
And with that,
are these folks known like oh like I know this singer, like he's not a professional, he's just like the guy
Okay.
that delivers ice and they know he sings, or he's just like a family member and like
Yeah, that's kind of like how it is. A
okay.
mehfil, they would call it a mehfil. Um, and I've been to a few of those, when I was a kid, and those were epic. They're epic, and you make the person feel so big, because like it's just a random person who's singing, and
Mm,
if they're good, the family stays up. You know, these like dozens and dozens of people are just sitting there, and you have a captive audience, a volunteer captive audience. You know, so it's like, and if everybody's enthralled and they feel good, and I don't know where we're going with this. I'm just
Oh, well, I wanted to get back to the video in that, like, so, and just so I can get a sense, who wrote this song, right? Did the artist write the
yeah,
song?
it
Like,
looks like the two young kids, they wrote the song, the one,
okay, they
the
composed the
girl and the boy.
song.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
And does it exist previously to this video in some published form?
Not, no, no.
No.
As
Okay.
much as
All
I've
right.
read,
All
no,
right.
it doesn't.
So this is kind of their chance to give it legs and
It looks
whatever
like,
that is.
yeah, it looks like not only has legs, it's been running a marathon because it's been out for a few days and it's got 5 million views.
Whew.
It's doing like a million a day.
Oh man.
So it's got a few legs, some might say.
Yeah.
I have one more note plus question about the visuals here, and we've seen allusions to a train, in a few of these videos that we've done, and my mind automatically goes to the partition. But as you opened this reaction video, you talked about clubs, and I'm assuming like late night partying. And what do trains have to do with that in Pakistan historically?
I don't know. That's a puzzle to me. It just looks nice. I don't know. I
Hmm.
know most of the train stations were the original stations built in the beginning of when trains came to fruition in Asia, in South
Hmm.
Asia. So these train stations, even the small cities, have like these beautiful ornate Victorian train stations because
Hmm.
they were British colonies essentially. Um, so people have a romanticized version, like vision of like train stations. You know, I've taken trains there. Um, wouldn't recommend it on the regular compartments, but like if you first class is okay. But like, you know, they kind of looked, and they still do kind of look like that. Kind of like dark and um romantic looking. They've just sort of used that as a visual aesthetic, which kind of looks like it flows here. It works with the song.
Mm.
I do want to say that Anural's voice, I really liked her voice. I thought like it was a higher register, but it was pop, but for me, it was pop with depth. And it was very simple. You know, for me, it's very simple and straightforward. I also, when that beat dropped in the beginning, I was like, okay, where is this going? This is like, when the beat dropped, I don't know at what timestamp it was, but I was just like, okay, like I see why you picked this song. I see why you picked this video. Like, um, the pop sensibility, but for me, I did feel with those drums, I felt that it gave it another some other nuance, right? I don't want to say it's hip hop, but there was something else in there that made it stand out from like your typical like pop song.
I think you hit it on the nail on the head when you talk about drums. Like in
Yeah.
today's world, genre doesn't even exist. Like, if someone like believes like that's me, that's who I am, then genre exists. But genre is
Mhm.
really just drums, right? So if you add the right drums to something that may be more traditional, it feels modern. Um,
Mm.
I just also want to point out I agree with you on her voice, and I just have always appreciated the microtones in music from this
Yeah,
region.
yeah.
It's something that the Western ear isn't used to. Um, and I've worked with artists from Pakistan, from India, and have had to, like, I mean, I believe it's beautiful, but also I work with engineers where all of a sudden they're like, wait, do we want to fix this note? It's like, no, we don't want to fix the note, right? Like, it's like you got to remain true to the palette
Yeah.
of the culture. So
Mm.
so yeah, and I think that really shined very strongly in this piece. So
Looking at a list of some of the instruments, one of the main backing instruments, and I noticed it as the tabla. You know, I kept hearing
Yeah,
it,
mm,
but it was
In
mute.
the beginning, it was there,
Yeah,
like affected in the beginning. I was like, what is that sound?
yeah. And then this beautiful rawness of something called the Persian sitar. It's got this really raw. I implore you to like check it out. Like any like video used like playing that instrument. It's such a raw. There's a rawness to it. They used it very sparingly, which was again a disappointment. I was hoping you would like get to hear more of it because that's what the platform is about, you know. Uh, but yeah, and then there's like five guys on different synths. Looks like two guys on percussions. There's a flutist, drums, electric guitarist. So all those musicians on stage playing, they were actually playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow.
synth bass. Yeah, crazy amount of.
And this list is actually very short in comparison to some of the other videos that we watch with instruments. So, and a lot of them are repeated. So now I can see why the music was sort of not as prominent in this particular video.
But great catchy song though. I mean, they must be doing something right because people are watching it, you know. So
People
And
love
I'm,
love, man.
yeah,
And I
right,
think this
exactly.
piece actually speaks to, I mean, people love love, especially when it's forbidden, or like, when it breaks convention, when it breaks norm, right? And there's a lot of like, ooh, in this, like, oh, they shouldn't be together, or like, oh, she's looking at him, right? That intrigue right there, like, everyone has been there.
yeah.
Um, so I just trying to figure out, well, I think I know who the bad guy is, right? But is there a good guy, or a good
Yeah.
woman, for that matter? So,
Uh, just something off to the side, and this may not make the final discussion. But at the same time, most of the people in the country are of Punjabi origin. So a lot of people take offense to the fact, not offense, but like it doesn't sit well with them that most of the songs are coming out in Punjabi and not representing other areas too. You know, it's democracy, but in a wrong sense. You know, it's a majoritarian
yeah.
democracy. It's supposed to be representative and equitable, but it's not quite. You know,
Well, it makes me just think about the platform, right? And 15 seasons, it shifts, it changes. I mean, who knows how the creative team changes and shifts, but it is Coca-Cola, and they're not going to put their money behind it unless you get 4.5 million views, right? So it's like, I'm sure their marketing people who are in the boardroom who are looking at numbers and looking at like, and making decisions based on, well, what's going to get the most plays. Like, I haven't looked at all the videos. Are there videos that don't pop off like this so quickly?
no, I think 10 views
Yeah.
are pretty normal. It
And
could go
I'm
up to
reading
a
the comments.
billion.
It looks like people are pretty like they're happy that there's at least some format that's pushing this music globally.
Yeah, in a respectable way.
I want to give some love to the lyrics here. And thanks, Farbeon, for that question about composition, because I think even if it is contemporary, with a sort of callback to old love songs of yore, I mean, the intensity of these lyrics is just like crazy. With a smile, I've assumed all obligations. That was like my favorite one. I gathered all the stars for you. Her beauty leaves me undone. Your presence enchants all that surrounds you. I mean, if somebody saying that to me, I give them my phone number for sure.
Yeah. Now that I'm reading the lyrics again, it definitely comes from an old folk tale called Ranja and Heer. That's what this is about, forbidden love. It's Romeo and Juliet before Romeo and Juliet, but in rural southern Punjab, you know. So,
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I aspire to that level of songwriting.
yeah, it's hard to believe these people are young. They're in their 20s, man. They, yeah. I'm not jealous. You are jealous. I'm not envious.
The
I mean,
cat's envious.
I can't write about forbidden love because I've been with my lady for 25 years. Yeah,
What up, Mayor?
I get all the love
Cheers.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. But man, this, so half the things you spoke about, I didn't think about, thinking about layers and compositions, and I don't quite view music that way, but like listening to artists talk about this stuff, it really puts a fresh perspective. Obviously, A. Billy talks about this too, so it's always a fresh perspective in that sense. But like, building layers upon layers and like making me think about things that I didn't necessarily I overlook, So that's appreciated. So thanks for coming on board, man. I appreciate it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I appreciate you inviting me. I learned a lot. I
Yeah,
got to engage
always.
an amazing song, but also learned a lot about Pakistani music scene, culture, just the history of the music, and any chance I get to learn about a different part of the world. Well,
Okay,
thank
with
you.
that being said, thanks for being on the show. Hey, Billy, as usual. Till the next time. Cheers.
See ya.
Peace.